What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. So I hope you guys watched my last video of our 6hp28 swap part 1. Today we are actually going to be doing part 2. So to start off the video, we're going to show you guys on how to removing the cast module, I believe it is, for the key fob. And we're going to be removing the computer out of the 6hp28x transmission, so we can send those bad boys out to get programmed, so you can code the VIN and all that stuff for the new transmission. So today we're also going to be attempting to install Joshua's 6HP adapter plate. We're going to be installing that, pulling the computer out of that, pulling the computer out of that, and then shipping our key fob module. So I appreciate all the support and love you guys gave me for last video. I know a lot of people are excited for this new transmission swap. I know I am. Joshua's been tons of help. I've had so many questions with the kit and everything, and every time I ask him, he's there 100% of the time to ask me how's the process going, or if you guys need any help or anything, just give me a call. Where pieces go, stuff like that, man. It's just lots of help. I love it. But other than that, I'm going to show you guys how to remove the cast module, and then we're going to put the transmission up on top of the workbench on the welding table. We're going to get that pulled off, and then we'll see where we're going to next. See you guys then. Guys, so for that module, we are going to be opening our door, and then we're going to have to remove this panel right here. The module that we're looking for should be back here plugged in. We're just going to have to remove a couple of Torx bits that are up here, some screws that hold this panel up, drop this down, take it out the way. Then we're going to remove this lever, remove this panel out here, and it should expose the computer that we're looking for. And then we're going to take that bad boy out, and then we're going to move on to the transmission side. Alright guys, so we have all the plastic pieces removed. So now we took this side out just to get some more excess. We took this piece out. So now, I hope you guys can see it. Actually, let me get a little bit more lighting in here. There we go. So that's gonna be the module that you guys have to remove right there. So this is right basically underneath the steering wheel on the side. There's gonna be a 10mm bolt over there on the side that you have to remove. You have to remove this clip, remove that clip, and then there's a little like finger that sticks outside of the module that stays inside there. So once you remove that 10mm bolt, sorry, you're gonna put this thing at an angle and it slide it right out. Alrighty guys, so this is the module that you have to pull out. This is the immobilizer, I believe it is, the cast module. So get this bad boy pulled out, and then next we're gonna get the computer pulled out, the transmission from the valve body, sorry. Alright guys, so we got the transmission sitting on a chair, so I have the pan facing up. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go and remove all the bolts holding in. Alright guys, so we got the oil pan pulled off. So this is it. Just remove all the bolts on the outside, take the pan off. It's gonna have a little tube that goes inside here, so don't try to hit it to the side or anything. Just put a little flathead screwdriver on the wedge spots, like here or over there as well, and then just pry it up. Once you get that cover off, we're gonna remove the valve body itself. So the way we're gonna do that is we're gonna use a T40 socket. We're gonna remove the bigger bolts. We're gonna move that one, this one, that one, that one, this one, that one, and I believe that's everything. Oh, and then you have to remove these as well. Do not forget these, because if you crack this plastic piece for the solenoids, you're kind of screwed. So just take your time. If she doesn't come off nice and easy, then there's still some screws. Just look over it, take your time. This is the most important part of the transmission right here. So take your time with this bad boy. So like I said, we're pulling this out so we can get the computer off of it. And then while it's off, we're also gonna be doing the maintenance on there as well. So we're gonna replace the bridge seals, the little tube seals, everything. So I'm gonna show you all that as well. Alrighty guys, so we got all the T40 bolts removed. I believe I got all of them. So now one more step that you have to do before you pull this bad boy out. Make sure you take your time with this. I'm telling you guys, this is the most important part. You do not want to mess this valve body up or break any components on it. So once you remove the T40 bolts, remove these as well. Do not forget about those. Now this clip right here, we're gonna just push the tab in like that, and then we're gonna slide it up. What that's for is for the Mechatronic sleeve, so you can just remove it. She might be stuck inside there because she does have O-rings, and from time with all the heat and everything, it does bind itself to the transmission itself. So we're just gonna grab a flathead screwdriver, we're gonna pry that out a little bit, and then once it slides out, then we should be able to remove this. So we'll put back on time lapse. Let's get it finished. Alrighty guys, so now that we got the Mechatronic sleeve out, here's that bad boy. We got this bad boy out. Sometimes it is a little hard to get out because these O-rings right here, they do like to basically, they're in there for a long period of time, so they basically like wedge themselves in onto the aluminum. So you just gotta play with it a little bit, wobble it back and forth until she finally pops out. Be careful not to break it inside there. If you do break it, it's not the end of the world. Just grab a couple of picks and get the excess plastic pieces out of the hole, which is inside here. You can see all the pins inside. This is meant to keep all the oil and everything sealed away from the connectors. So now what we have to do is separate the computer from the valve body. It's kind of hard to show you because I'm filming by myself today, so I do not want to mess anything up. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove a couple of Torx bits. We're going to move this plastic piece up top, and then a couple of these bits that hold down the plastic piece. Be careful not to remove the other ones that actually separate the valve body itself. I'm going to post pictures on the ones that you're supposed to remove. Alrighty guys, so we got the module that we need to ship out pulled off. All the bolts that we removed, we actually ended up missing one. You guys saw in the time lapse, I showed you guys where that was. So now this bad boy, we got to wrap up very carefully, a bunch of bubble wrap over it because these are fragile. Put a bunch of bubble wrap, ship it out with the cast module and our key fob. We're gonna wrap that up in bubble wrap as well. We're gonna get these bad boys shipped out. Alright you guys, so we're going to be working on removing this shifter. We're going to exchange it for the new E60 style shifter. Now the only thing I'm worried about that shifter is it's not going to look OEM. At least I don't think so, the way it's designed compared to the stock E90 shifter. But don't worry about that. I actually have plans for the future to make it look like if it was factory. I'll be making a video of that. What I'm thinking about doing is grabbing an E60 OEM center console and then basically fabricating it and molding it to this one so it looks like it was meant to be here. At least that's just from the looks of it, that's what I think it's gonna end up being. I don't think it's gonna close up real nicely how it is now, but we shall see. So anyways, let's start removing this. Don't mind the mess. Obviously we're working on the car, so there's gonna be a lot of shit thrown in the car so we don't lose anything, but let's get started, baby. Alright guys, so we got the shifter removed. That was actually a lot easier than I thought. Got this bad boy. We had 3 Torx bit sockets, or bolts, sorry, Torx bit bolts that was holding it in. Here they are. It was just 3. And then we had that parking line that went down through the trans tunnel and it went and connected straight to the transmission. So we got that removed. Alrighty guys, so now we're back on to the transmission. We are going to be installing back the TCM. We finally received it back from coding, so everything should be good to go, plug and play. So now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna install this back in the same way we took it out, put all the bolts back in. I'm gonna see if my filter kit and everything that I ordered for the transmission came with this new seal. It's like a little foam that seals the solenoid so the oil doesn't really get in there. So let's see if I have that. If I do, pop that in, and then I'll show you guys the next steps. Alrighty guys, so we got the TCM mounted onto the valve body. So now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be replacing the bridge seals and the 4 ports here. These provide oil pressure and everything for your clutches and all that stuff, so it's very important to have these fresh. Now it feels like the owner that got this transmission off of did these recently, because usually when you do these they should be flush with the machine surface, but I actually feel these sticking out a bit. But we're still going to change them just in case. So we're going to start with the bridge port. So I'm not sure if you guys can see here, but the rubber is actually sticking out a bit. So that's a good sign. That means that this is still in good condition, but we're still gonna replace it. Usually when you have issues with your transmission having issues shifting or something, or hard shifts, is due to this. This is gonna be flush when you take it out, so it allows oil pressure to escape. So we're gonna change this out with a new one. We got all of our parts from SCP Euro. Here's part numbers, so you guys can see if you guys want to order it as well. That's for the bridge seal for a 6hp28. So comparison, the old used one versus the new one. They both stick up. The new one actually sticks up a little bit more, but you know, when you compress it, it goes down naturally. So still in good condition, but we're gonna replace it either way. So let's get that bad boy mounted. So that one's in there. And now the fun part is going to be replacing these 4. So these 4 you got to be careful because they're each different lengths. They're not all the same. So replace one at a time, or when you take them all out, just make sure you have them the same orientation. So that's what we're going to do. So they're a little tricky to get out. I like to get a little flathead screwdriver and just stab the inside and pry it out slowly. And then grab yourself some needle nose pliers and just try to grab it. There's one. Be careful not to scratch the surface. So we're just gonna slide that back in there so we don't lose it. We're gonna go on to the next one. Put it back, and then one more. There goes all 4. So it's not hard to do this at all. It's just a little tedious. You don't want to scratch the mating surface because that's how it seals. It's machined. So now we have all 4 out. So now we're gonna get our other new seals. We're gonna unbox them. For the one small seal, here's the part number. This is for the small, yeah, there's 2 small ones, and there's a medium and a large. So 2 small ones are the exact same size. There's a medium one and then there's a large. So for the small one, the part number should be the same. For the large seal, this is the number that SCP Euro put. And then for the medium seal, this is the part numbers for that as well. So let's get all of them in the box, and baggage, whatever you want to call it. Put that to the side. Another one, put that to the side. And one more. So I order all my parts through FCP Euro. If you guys don't know anything about FCP Euro, they sell lifetime warranty parts for Euro cars or German cars or whatever, BMWs, Mercedes, Audis, whatever. Any part you guys need, go through FCP Euro and you'll have lifetime warranty on all your parts. So we have all of our seals here. Like I said, the small ones are about the same exact size. You have a large, and then you have a medium. So the medium is just slightly larger than the small ones, slightly larger. Hopefully you can see. But we're gonna start replacing them. So we're gonna take out the first one on the side, and then we're gonna compare it. So I know that's my large seal. So I'm gonna pop the large seal in the first slot. Second one, I'm gonna compare it. That's my medium. So I'm gonna put my medium one in the second slot. Third one should be the small one, which it is. So I'm gonna put the small one there. And then the last one should be the small as well. So one thing I didn't show you guys is the difference. So the new seals obviously stick up a little higher. That's because the nature of when you torque down your valve body, it's gonna compress it. So they're not. I knew I had to send out the TCM, so I didn't want the transmission to sit here dry. So I left the oil and everything in there so the clutches don't go dry. I believe these are, I forgot what they call it, but when the clutches go dry, they start to grow some shit on it and they go bad. So I leave them moistured. I put the cover on and everything. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the valve body. Alright guys, so valve body's all bolted down, everything's torqued down to spec. The big bolts, the valve body that goes to transmission gets torqued down to 53 inch-pounds, and then for the plastic TCM, whatever, I just did those by hand. A little, she's nice and tight, she ain't going anywhere. It's just plastic, but the valve body do make sure that that's torqued down so you get proper sealing on the seals and everything. Everything's sealing on the surface. Just check over. Be careful when you pop this bad boy in. She does go in a certain position. You'll feel it when she goes in and all the holes line up perfectly. So now we're gonna put the oil pan back on, and then next step is we are gonna transfer over the transfer case. So super excited for that. So let's get this bad boy finished. Alright guys, so we are going to remove the transfer case off the old transmission. So we're just gonna look for the couple of bolts that hold it down. So we're gonna get that mounted right now. comes out. We had a little trouble pulling her out because of all the rust and everything that built up on the shaft. So when you unbolt the holes and everything, unbolt the bolt, sorry, you just gotta wiggle her up. It's better off if you do it with 2 people. Once she comes up, you just take her over. So there she is. All the bolts, I held it down. So now we are going to transfer it over to the new 6hp28. Let's get this bad boy fitted. Alrighty guys, so we got the transfer case here. It's all off on the old transmission. So we're just gonna clean up this little gunk shit that's inside there real quick. We're gonna clean all that out real nicely. And then the next step is to get rid of this. We no longer need this mount. Plus mine is all broken and dry rotted and everything. So we are gonna be changing it over with Joshua's new one. This one's modified. It's stuffed with polyurethane too, so we can get all the power instead of this little flex shit. So putting this bad boy in. So we're gonna have to press this out, and instead of pushing it this way like the factory bushings, we're gonna be putting it in reverse, I believe. And then it's also, the hole is not centered. It's tapered a little bit to the end on this end. So this has to go on a specific.
Por más de mitad solicitaba $5 millones de nuestros impuestos para mantener empleos aquí. Take advantage of discounts when you cover your home.
Show the bushing on the camera.
At usaa.com/bundle. Restrictions apply.
Alright. Alrighty guys, so we got that bushing pressed in. Let me tell you right now, it's a fucking bitch, but it's definitely possible. Just put some lubrication around the seal, around the inside of the transfer case. Put some oil on the bushing itself, and you have to use some type of pusher. So I made this little rig real quick in the garage. So all it is, this is a 3.5 inch pipe tapered down to 3 inch. It's just something that I had laying around in the garage. But 3.5 inch fits perfectly around the metal race of the bushing. So I used that, and then I used a little bracket that I had. Basically, you don't even need this. You can just use like a flat plate with a hole drilled in the center, so you can put it in the back. So basically this sits back here like that, so that way when I'm pulling, it sits flush on the outside of the transfer case on the edges, so it gives me something flat to pull against. So what I'm actually going to do right now is I'm going to put this up. I'm going to mock it up like if I was using it. I'm going to show you how it works. So this is my press setup that I have here. So like I said, I had this little bracket laying around, but basically you can just get like a flat piece of plate that sits on the outside of the edge of the transfer case, and you just drill a hole center. You get yourself a nice long bolt that goes through the bushing, and then over here, this is where that 3.5 inch pipe goes right on the edge. So you can see it's perfect with the bushing. And then on top, I just put another piece of plate on here, drill the hole in the center, and I put my long rod through all the way through. I put a nut over here, and on the top you just hit it with your impact gun while you hold this nut, and it starts to clamp the bushing in. So once you do that, the metal piece of the top bushing should sit flush here, and the bottom of the bushing should sit flush at the bottom of the transfer case as well. So that's that. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna put that bad boy onto the transmission, and then bolt it down, torque it down, do whatever we gotta do. And then we just have to do one little modification over here. Actually 2, I believe. We gotta remove the dowel pin for the starter. And then we have to shave, I believe, this side. I'll do some confirmation. I'll make sure it's actually this one or this one. But one of these sides we have to shave down a little bit just to clear the stock starter. So we'll do that next as well.
very nice. So this is the top side of the transmission that basically sits underneath your feet. So you're gonna shave off this side of the starter holes, sorry. You're gonna shave this side so it clears through. The starter clears the 6hp28. We're also gonna be removing this dowel pin. So take that bad boy out, shave this down so it clears your starter, and then we should be good to go to start bolting up the transmission. So let's get this bad boy finished. Alrighty guys, so here's the engine side. We're gonna be removing the dowel pins. We have one to remove right here, and then we have another one to remove right here. So we're gonna attempt to remove those bad boys now, and I believe those are the only two on this engine. So let's get those bad boys removed. Alrighty guys, so we got both the dowel pins removed. It was actually a lot easier than I thought it was gonna be. I know sometimes these are a pain in the ass to get out because they're actually pressed, but in this case it looks like they're just machined and just pushed in there by hand. All I used was a pair of needle nose vice grips. I tightened it on the edge and I just spun it. Spun real easily and came right out. Same thing on this side. Put the needle nose on there, tightened it, spun it just a little bit, and came right out. So now let's get this mating surface all cleaned up real nicely as best as we could, and let's get Joshua's adapter put on. Alrighty guys, so now we are going to be installing Joshua's adapter plate. So I just want to make sure that the mating surface is all cleaned so I don't have any misalignments, and get it all cleaned up real nicely. Now we're going to install it. We're going to make sure to see that our dowel pins slide in where they're supposed to. So I got one in there. The other one is in there. So now we're gonna grab our A1 hardware, these, and we're gonna start installing those. Actually, we're just gonna let that bad boy hang there. We're gonna get one ready. And then we have our blue Loctite, like I said. Don't be greedy with it. We're gonna put a good amount. We want about that much. So we're gonna get our plate lined up again. And we're gonna start installing our hardware. Make sure you guys have a torque wrench ready to go. A1 hardware gets torqued down to 50 foot-pounds of torque. 50 foot-pounds of torque, baby. So we're gonna get our other ones Loctited up real nicely. So now he gives you Allen head bolts. They are, once they're torqued down to spec, they are flush with the plate, so they should not interfere with the transmission. If they do interfere with the transmission, most likely you either put the wrong bolt or something is not sitting flush. So take your time with the install. Make sure you check it all over. Make sure everything is looking how it's supposed to. Last thing you want is to try to put up the transmission. You have to take it back down because something is not put on properly, or you use the wrong hardware somewhere. So just take your time. There's no rush for this. It is a long process. Alright guys, so now we're gonna grab our 5/16 Allen socket. I'm just gonna put on my ratchet now so I can drive them all the way in, and then we're gonna torque them down to spec 50 foot-pounds. So, like I said, take your time with it. Make sure the dowel pins seem like they're aligned, and torque it down. So now I'm just going to look over the engine, make sure the dowel pins are actually fully seated in. They should be, but always make sure. Alrighty guys, so now that we know that our
adapter plate is sitting flush. The dowel pins are inserted in the engine. We have all of our A1 hardware tightened down by hand. I just use my little ratchet. It's only like maybe 20-30 foot-pounds of torque anyways. So now we're gonna grab our torque wrench. We're gonna set our torque down to 50 foot-pounds. Not sure if you can really see it that well. Anyways, it's set to 50 foot-pounds. So now we're gonna go to every single hardware star pattern, and then we're gonna set it all at 50. Adapter plate is bolted on. A1 hardware, blue Loctite everywhere. All torqued down to 50 foot-pounds. So everything is nice. I already tested the flywheel. She does spin, no catching or anything. There goes my light dying. That's nice. Anyways, so now we're gonna move on to the next process. We're gonna hook up this adapter plate to the torque converter on the transmission.
Can I hear the making my temperature the rise? If you leave me, I could die. I swear, you are like the oxygen I need to survive. I'll be honest, your loving take totally me. I am.
Alright, you guys. So we finally have the transmission underneath the car. It's a pain in the ass to get underneath here. Just the way because I have my jack stand set up and everything. It just, yeah, sucks. Anyway, so now the next step is going to be installing this bad boy. So this is a little spacer plate that goes onto the flex plate. It's gonna go right there in the middle. It's tapered, so you sit it in and it spaces it out. So the little nipple piece that hangs off of the torque converter goes inside. It's basically like a guide. So what we are going to be doing is, this is you should just be able to hammer this in, but I don't want to risk mushrooming this head. So what we are going to do is, this comes with a bolt from the kit. So we're going to put the bolt in there, thread it in, and then we're going to use this as a hammering point. And then we're going to hammer that bad boy in. But the point of this bolt is, if you ever do want to remove this, you actually just tighten this bolt up and you keep hitting with an impact gun until it starts to back out, which is actually a really good design, Joshua. I really like that. So let's put you on time lapse and let's get that bad boy inserted. So she's inserted in there real nicely. She's sitting flush. Hopefully you guys can see that. Sorry for the shadow, but she's sitting in there nice and flush. So like I said, that's a guide for the little nipple on a torque converter. That bad boy should just get inserted right in there, and then dowel pins and everything gets lined up with the transmission. So we have one here, we have another dowel pin here as well. So that means we are going to be removing the ones on the transmission. So on this one we only have one, so we're going to be removing that bad boy. We're going to be using the adapter plate one. So let's get that removed. Alright guys, new day. Anyways, we got that bad boy mounted last night. So now today what we are going to be doing is hopefully putting the transmission on. So I'm actually here by myself today. I don't have any help. So let's see if we can get it. I'm also going to be removing the old coolant lines for the old transmission, for the 6hp19 or 21s. I'm going to be removing that. There's a 10mm bolt that holds it here to the side of the oil pan, and there should be another one more down. And then we're also going to disconnect it from the stock oil trans cooler, which is somewhere here. I don't know how to see, with the BRSF front mount intercooler there. So we're going to be taking this out. We're going to be mounting up the transmission. I have little block offs inside there so I don't leak any oil.
So I'm gonna be removing those as well, replacing the O-rings on there and putting Joshua's new ones on. But for now, let's get this shit taken out and let's see if we can get that bad boy out. So for the bottom of the transmission, the 4 bolts at the bottom that goes to the adapter plate, we're going to be using hardware A4. Should be 4 of these Allen head bolts with some washers. We're going to go ahead and put some blue Loctite on these as well, and then it should help us pull the bottom of the transmission up. Since the motor is at an angle, I can't really get the transmission to line up perfect. So the goal is to put these little bolts at the bottom and help drive the bottom end of the transmission since it's wedged on top, basically making a V. So we're gonna get those and then the rest of the hardware. Bolts that we're going to put in is going to be hardware A2, but you got to be careful with the instructions because there's different size bolts inside this kit. So we have a regular looks like an 18mm bolt, and then we have the Allens, but one of these is a shorter one. So if you see here, it has like a little spacer on that one where it doesn't have threads on. It's actually, this one's shorter. So pay attention to the instructions when you use this kit. Make sure you put the right bolts. So the ones that we're going to be using next, the next bolts on top of the ones that we just put in is going to be the dowel pins. So that's going to use the 2 longer bolts with a little spacer, whatever you want to call that. We're going to put 2 washers on there. We're also going to put blue Loctite as well. So let's do that. Alright guys, so we got all those bolted up. Bottom of the transmission is basically bolted to the adapter plate. So now the next step is going to use the same A2 hardware, and the other 2 bolts, you're going to use these now. So pay attention to the diagram that Joshua is going to send you guys for the purchases. These are going to go on the top of the transmission. This one's going to go basically on top of the starter. If you guys paid attention to the adapter plate before, it has like threading inside of it. I forgot what you call them. They're like threaded inserts. This one's going to go on top of the starter. This one's going to go on the top of the right of the transmission. So we're going to put some blue Loctite. We're going to get those installed. It's going to be kind of hard for me to film that because it's on top of the tunnel, but we'll see what we can do. Alright you guys, so the whole transmission is bolted down, all the hardware where it belongs, and the top view like I promised. So you get this one from the A2 hardware, and you also get this one from the A2 hardware. And then with Joshua's kit, you don't have to here, hope you guys can see. With Joshua's kit, back when we had the 6hp28x and the 21s, we had to unscrew the starter bolts from the trans tunnel, which sucked. With Joshua's kit, we drill out the starter and we only bolted down from starter side, so it's a lot easier to do the starter. Unfortunately, we had to take out our starter and drill it out just for a bigger bolt. Nothing too biggie, but I think that's gonna be it for this video. I know it's a long video and I'm trying to keep them short, so I'd rather have more videos than one long ass video. Even though they're pretty long, I don't care. If you don't like the long video, skip it, don't watch it. If you do, this is more for the information for the people who actually are doing this swap. But so we got the transmission installed, we got the adapter plate on the torque converter installed, we have the adapter plate on the motor installed. We have the little spacer aligning bushing on the the flywheel. What else we got? We got Joshua's bushing installed on the transfer case here. So now we just gotta put the bracket and everything that goes onto there. Just like the normal transmissions, no difference. So I'm gonna end the video here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna finish doing the install and everything. I know a lot of people don't like to watch that. I showed you guys how to disassemble it. All you're doing is vice versa and putting it back together. So I'm gonna put it all back together, and then part 3 of the series, we'll be doing the transmission cooler lines and filling up the transmission with oil and all that stuff. So I hope you guys enjoy this process. I hope it's informative and helpful for a lot of you guys as well. Please like, subscribe, comment. But other than that, we're done for today, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Have a good one.